Good morning, everybody. My name is Jim Welsh, and I am with Payroll for Construction. I want to thank everybody for attending today's webinar on Payroll SOS, maybe when it's time to call in the experts for help. Um, Today is a listen-only broadcast, so unfortunately you won't be able to talk as I move along here. We do offer one-on-one personalized demonstrations. So after this will be a real high-level kind of who we are, what we do here today, and how we can help. But at the same time, you can type in questions. I'll answer them as we move along, or some of them I may wait till the end, but I'll make sure by the end of this today, everybody's questions are answered, and then I'll pop my information up here again at the end. So if anybody wants anything from a quote or to schedule a more one-on-one personalized demonstration, we're always happy to do that stuff to make sure that, what we can do to help is the right fit for you. So I'll start with just, a lot of people know this, but some don't. So what does a traditional payroll service do, or all services out there? And the very basics are checks, direct deposits, paying your employees, right? Paying your taxes, big thing. This is construction. People move around. They venture into different states sometimes or pull employees from different states. There's all these different state tax laws and family medical stuff. So those are things that traditional services really excel at, and so do we. So I'll focus here more in a minute on some of the things that creep up for contractors that are pretty unique to this industry, that even once your employees and your taxes are paid, quarterlies, W-2s, anybody who's doing payroll for a contractor knows that's not where payroll ends. That is what a lot of people refer to as sometimes the easier part of payroll. So I'll assure you that we handle that as well, but we'll also talk about what makes us different here. So the first major thing is in the name, Payroll for Construction. That is all we do. We only process payroll for contractors. It's not a division of our company. It's not a small, part of what we do. It's all we do. And furthermore, we do this in all 50 states. So this is where some of these traditional services really start to struggle. This is where, as a contractor, might start wondering, hey, is my payroll getting to be too much? One of the biggest things we see is they start venturing into different states. So that's one of the major things that will, hey, is it time? Should I be reaching out to somebody? This is where we're not just centralized to one state where we do this in one state. We're doing this in all 50 states. So whether you have employees that live in different states, whether you are going to be getting or doing work in multiple states, you got to follow these state tax income rules. And even some of these states, like where we're from here in Ohio, have city taxes. And we're seeing more and more of that pop up. So as all these different laws change, you can rest assured here at Payroll for Construction, we can help guide you with that and make sure those state income taxes are paid accurately and on time. What we really focus in on here, not that we don't have contractors that don't do this stuff, but the reality is we go into even more of a messy payroll than just standard construction. When you start joining unions and you start doing government prevailing wage work, we'll talk just in a second on if you don't have the right payroll solution in place, whether you're doing it in-house through QuickBooks or whether you're using one of the big names, ADP Paychecks, again, great software, great services. They wouldn't be as large as they were, have as many clients using them as they do if they didn't know payroll. But again, as you venture into that type of work, you're moving further and further away from traditional payroll. So this is another big reason we see people start to raise their hands and reach out, is the fact that, well, hey, yeah, getting my employees and taxes paid, I can do that. However, now I'm starting to find out that, hey, this compliance reporting is burying me. Most of the people we deal with, their payroll person doesn't just sit there 5 days a week to just jump in and do payroll one day out of those 5 days. There are so many other things that go with this stuff, and a lot of it is that back-end compliance reporting, calculations, things like that. If you're using some type of software system that doesn't understand that type of payroll, you find yourself doing a lot of manual calculations outside of the system, which can lead to nightmares when it comes to audit or mistakes, corrections. Even if you are perfect, just we're dealing with agencies, contractors, unions, employees. that just don't always pass along accurate information in a timely fashion. So the other things that we do are just automate these features, paying the employees' taxes, one system, one company, one service, but also providing that compliance reporting. Now, where we become different is, and you'll see in a second when I leave this PowerPoint and jump into the actual online service, you're going to see foundation software. Nobody needs to drop off the call. Nobody needs to change accounting systems here. We integrate with QuickBooks and many other accounting systems. So it's not the bait and switch here, but we really just use a piece of our accounting ERP system foundation to power our online payroll service. And, to be honest, it's a little bit of cross branding there as well. But many people out there don't know or realize that, well, hey, I don't have to jump to the full accounting suite of foundation. I can stick with QuickBooks or Sage or whatever you're using for accounting, and then bolt on Payroll for Construction as a third-party payroll service. So I like to mention that because when I leave here, people that know or recognize foundation sometimes drop off the call because they figure they got to make that move. With Payroll for Construction, you do not. So some of this is just kind of a refresher here, or kind of what I just went over, revisionist history, where multi-state, multi-locality. One of the unique things with us is we can control things by job, and not just job, sometimes what they're doing on the job. So as they bounce to different jobs, you'll see in a second here where I can label what city or what state that job's in. I can also attach a different schedule of union rates, or if you're non-union, the prevailing wage rates. If you are taking credit for any of that stuff, we can handle that as well. These are things that, again, we can get more in-depth conversations with one-on-one demos, because there's many people sitting on this today of which I have no clue if they are multi-state or multi-union or prevailing wage. So we can really focus this demo on your company's specific needs if you did decide to look at us. The construction-specific reporting is what I'll spend most of my time, not here just in PowerPoint, because a lot of these reports don't mean anything anymore, meaning there are different reporting, even though it's asking for all the same information, there are different reporting mechanisms, whether it's you got to go online when you're out there in California or some of these other states, LCP tracker. This piece of paper doesn't hold as much weight as it used to when you used to be able to print, sign, and send this off. So we're seeing these reports, certified payroll, union, EEO, minority compliance, or monthly manning reports. We're seeing them evolve where even if sometimes they're not asking for more information, they are requiring it to go onto different reports or into different portals or online websites where we stay up to date with that stuff. So we'll get into all this reporting here in just a second. Few other things that make us different is, like I mentioned, we integrate with QuickBooks and other accounting packages. If anybody after this or during this wonders, do we integrate with what you're using for accounting, you can feel free to email me or type it in the into the question section, and I can answer that. Our whole team here only supports construction. So a lot of the questions I get is people that have used QuickBooks or ADP or Paychex is, do I have one person to talk to? And they ask that question because they're so used to having to teach the person that they're working with when it comes to payroll. They're having to teach them how their payroll works. And when that person leaves, gets promoted, or is out sick, whatever it is, well, their support bottoms out. They don't have anybody there without spending time training them on how their payroll works and how they need to be supported and helped. So you kind of start to get that feeling of, well, I finally made the decision to reach out for help. I went to what I thought was experts, but it seems that I have more expertise in this payroll than they do. With us, it's a complete 180. Our team does nothing but support this type of payroll. Now for today, I'll enter a time card real quick, but know that we stay up with technology, and our technology is focused on nothing but construction. So you don't have to physically hand key your time cards into our system. Could you if you wanted to? Absolutely. If you're already using an app that you're happy with, most of them out there, especially the construction-specific ones, we can import the time from them. We also have our own applications as well. We have a couple different ones because, everybody likes to use it a little bit different from the next. So we have technology there for even an online stub portal, meaning we've even evolved the online stub portal to where, hey, I may not just have my employees collect their pay stubs online or see how much PTO they have. I have all the way from onboarding employees to employee self-service to a document storage center where you can collect driver's license, share employee handbooks, things like that. That again, for today, I may pop up a screen really quickly, but the reality is that this is best done over a one-on-one 45-minute to an hour demo where I can kind of tailor this specifically to you guys. You can access this from any computer with internet. So even though once I bounce into the service, going to have more of a desktop software feel because that's where I have mine. Rest assured, you're not installing any software. You don't have to worry about hardware requirements. Just any computer with internet access, you'll be able to access this information. Okay, I'll pop this up here back at the end, but where I'll jump into now is I'll just jump into the service. Again, you don't even see payroll for construction here, but this is one of those things that we just give you access to a portion of the accounting suite to allow you to get your payroll to us, allow us to capture general ledger and job costing, and then push that information back to QuickBooks, Sage, or we work with quite a few of them out there, and then we can push this information back in. So where I always start is in payroll maintenance. Now, as I go through this, even if we do a one-on-one demonstration, you're never expected to do this on your own. That's why you reached out to the experts for help in the first place. So we are here with you from the time you're doing demonstrations with myself to the time you're going through the onboarding, the setup, the training, the testing process. We will be there, and then we'll be there to support you from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Eastern, which even our West Coast clients, 5 a.m. to 5 p.m. Pacific. So we have clients all across the country. So we're here to help set this up. But I like to show this in how we help set this up because you could reach out to many different payroll providers and they could all give you the, yes, we can handle union, or yes, we can handle certified, or yes, we can handle job costing. But the manner in which they do it or method in which they do it is not usually what people are expecting, meaning there are a lot of steps involved to get that payroll processed and get them to the end goal where they get left feeling like, I thought this would help, but it's really not helping me that much. And then they pull the plug and now you're bouncing back to whatever system you were using before. And it's no fun to remove payroll and try to put it back in. So we try to provide here a long-term solution, not just a short-term fix. So this is where we don't pretend to know the rates for every prevailing wage job in every union across the country. We rely on our clients to say, hey, Jim, here are the union or unions we deal with, names, classes within the union, rates. And when we update these, it updates the masses. So when I update an electrician right here, if I have 10 journeyman electrician out of that union, I've updated all 10 right there. The only time for a union employee you would need a rate in their record is if you paid them above scale, in which case you could easily put in Susan's scale $32 an hour, and she would get paid $32. Those other 9 electricians would follow that standard scale. So these tables are good for two things. One is updating the masses. The other is an effective date. So as these prevailing wage or PLA or union agreements start to change, again, we won't know until you notify us, but you can easily send that stuff over to us. And then what we can do is update it for you, and we can set an effective date. So even if it's April 1st and that's midweek, that week's payroll, whether you're entering it, whether it's importing from some time solution you have, or whether you're syncing it over from our time solution, it'll use the old rates Monday, Tuesday, the new ones Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and it will for visibility. Visibility is so huge in this type of payroll. We can't take shortcuts in the office and chance leaving contractors, government agencies, unions, and employees flying blind. So that is where it'll timestamp that on all your reports for that week and your employees' paychecks so that they can visibly see that they got their increase at the exact day and time they should have. Now, if you're non-union, these tables may be county specific or even job specific, and they'll just list your classifications in here, the rates, and then as we roll over here, fringes, of course, will be different whether you are union. They will have the names. They will have whether it comes from the employee or comes from you, hours worked versus paid, how it needs to calculate, what it needs to calculate at, how it's taxed. So again, most of our clients aren't entrenched or spending a ton of time in these tables because they lean on us. That's why they reached out for help from the experts in the first place. So we can update this stuff for you as long as you send it along. And then if you're non-union, maybe that fringe is just being paid to the employee in their paycheck. That's fine. Maybe you do put it into some type of benefit plan, and then it's non-taxable. So whatever you're doing, we can handle it really well. Workers' compensation and benefits, we do not pay. Most services do not, unless you jump into more of a PEO where they kind of hold everything under their company umbrella. But why we ask our clients for workers' comp is for two reasons. One, we want to be able to provide a report for audit payment purposes. We'll touch on that report here in a few minutes. But two, job costing. We are huge on job costing. One of the big fears of, I'd love to reach out, I'd love to get payroll help, but I can't sacrifice my job costing. We get it. We have a system that is built for job costing and accounting. So with that, that's where we can capture all these costs and sometimes, a lot of the times, make people's job costing even better than it was when they were doing it in-house through a QuickBooks or outsourcing through an ADP or Paychex because of what we understand. Now, employees, I'm going to kind of skip over this. Tracking PTO, loans, deductions, garnishments, you name it. We can do just about what anyone can do. What I will do is I will bounce into here and say, hey, listen, this is where anything from checking employee records either in the system or, from any mobile device, new hire, creating new hires or seeing where they're at in the process if you so choose to use this for that. You can still absolutely go edit and enter anything or add a new employee without using this piece of software. But this is more for people who are looking to go more electronically from the onboarding standpoint, wanting to be able to share documents with employees or have employees here share documents with you and see copies of their Fed state stuff, W-4 stuff. I can see Anthony here shared a driver's license screenshot with me. So these are things that, again, whether you want to stick just in here, you can. But if you want to go a little bit more mobile or more electronic, we have solutions for that, both on the employee onboarding and self-service side, as well as mobile time collection. Okay, so the name of the game is jobs, time, and your reports. So as you go into a job record, it's going to look pretty intense, like you need to fill in a ton of stuff. You don't. You're just using us for payroll. Therefore, a project or contract number, customer A, job, 123. That's all you really need. So if this is a job where nobody's roaming to a different union or I'm a non-union contractor and this is a private job, all I need this for is job costing, I am done. However, the overrides I mentioned earlier, this is where they begin. This is where if I'm in state X, but this job's in state Z, and I need to report state income tax to that state, that's where by simply putting it there, whether this job lasts week, month, year, I no longer have to worry about the payroll data week in and week out. I just have time coded to the job, picks up right taxes. As your service then, we pay those state taxes. This is how I get certified payroll. The beauty of our system, it's built for mistakes. It's retroactive. So even if I put this job in and didn't check the box, I could check that box day, week, month, year later. Every certified would be there from day one, including no work performed. Now, lastly, this tab here. If you're non-union, we can make that say prevailing wage. If you're union, we can have it say union. We want this to resonate. This is much easier to learn and train on once we start building in your terms, your definitions. So this is where if I'm non-union, maybe I just need to attach that wage scale table with the rates and fringes on here. And then, again, I'm done. As employees get coded to this job, whether they say they're an electrician, carpenter, laborer, that table contains the correct pay rates and fringe rate, and then it's going to automate those changes as that time hits the system. If I'm union, I can say I have guys and gals coming over to this union and let's just say this union. So it doesn't matter what unions they're coming from as much as it does, well, what electrical and what labor's union do we need to follow on the job? If anybody coming from home gets paid more, meaning the home union rates are higher, it doesn't have to lower them down. But this is now asking us, what benefits. Most of the time it's a complete package swap out, but if it gets specific where some benefits go home, some go to the unions that the job is in control of, well, I can divvy out what goes to where. So this is where, by taking a few additional steps on the job record, employees will come, they will go. Employees will go from job A to B to C. Once that job lands in a state, once that job lands in a union, once that job is in a prevailing wage jurisdiction or rate schedule, that stuff isn't changing. So being able to control by job is huge here in what we see other providers not able to do. Now, entering time, I'm going to go in here again. Just, you got to know that many different ways to get time to us, but just to prove this stuff really does tie out based on the job setup, if I put in hours here and I start coding this employee across multiple jobs, when I hit OK, when we look at the rate column here or the tax column, that might be bouncing states, cities, whatever. They may be bouncing from private to prevailing wage job 3 and 1, where those rates are all going to automate. If I miscoded this employee, they weren't an electrician, they were a laborer. Once I pick that, I don't have to manually touch the rate. We're eliminating keystrokes. We're eliminating the chance for error. Every time we have to key something in manually, there's just higher chance for error. The system can also recognize overtime after 8 in a day or 40 in a week or Saturday time and a half, Sunday double time. So I could have created a line item here and broken 2 hours out as overtime, but I could just as very well have saved this right here. And then before I send it off, I can come check it real quick and make sure all that time that was either whether these time cards were entered like I just did, or they came from a different app or our app, you still are in control, meaning no data that's being imported or pushed over from an app is just going to come to us where we just start paying employees and taxes. You will be the final gatekeeper as the payroll person. So this is where I can see by employee, days, jobs, regular overtime, city, state, wherever they were at. I can flip this data by job as well with a couple of clicks here. So if I want to run that same report by job, all of our reports are virtually all. There are some that are just employee specific, of course, but a lot of our reports can be ran by employee or by job because so much in construction is controlled by job. We can get you that data any way you want. Okay, you can print, PDF, Word, Excel, or CSV. You can run these reports for not just the current week, but day, week, month, year, all jobs, one job, just overtime, whatever I want. I can peel that data out any way I need. There's a bunch of other reports. I'm going to start going through the back end of the system. Even though each individual user, and yes, you can have more than one in here at a time, there can be different levels of security on who can do what, who can see what, but we build each user their own nice little flow chart so they don't have to navigate through the back end of the system. But at the same time, I don't want anybody to walk away today thinking that we only have 5 or 6 reports. There are more than enough reports here. So whether you want to see what your tax liability is or what employee paychecks are going to look like before you tell us to finalize payroll, you can come in here and see all that information. Then eventually, back to what traditional services provide. No better, no worse, where eventually I click submit. We give you a bill that is comprised of your direct deposits, all your taxes, and what our fee is for that week. And then we pull that money the day before payroll. And we handle what I call the middle part of payroll as well. But we also give you the end of payroll, meaning for most companies, well, great, my employees and taxes are paid. My job's not done yet, depending on what service, software, system you're using. That's where with us, it truly, for the most part, is. Am I going to be able to run any of these reports? Yes. I come into, for example, workers' comp. I can run more of a condensed class total there, where I can just see by class for whatever date, the month, the hours, the earnings, the exposure, the rate, the premium, the totals. I can see all of that information. Now, if I needed to dig deeper here because my gross versus my exposure, cap, limit, call it what you may, doesn't match, well, when they need more detail, one click, I change it over to more detail where I can get it by employee, So whether there's caps per class, per employee, or more commonly per earn type, it'll break all that information out for you. EEO, minority compliance. This is where a few minutes ago I was explaining, hey, there's not just one report anymore. Some of these make you go online. You're going to see more and more of this. It just, they put the burden on you folks, right? So rather than you send this off and somebody on the government, state, union side, enter it into some system or save it, they don't have to do that. They force you to go to a website. So whether they want you to do that or you're in a specific state where there's specific formats, this is where we keep up to date with all this information. So if anybody wants to see a specific report after, just let me know. But for time purposes here and wanting to open it up for questions here in a couple minutes, I'll just show you kind of some of the more common ones we run across. Employee earning statements. Again, you may say, Jim, my employees are not going to or not going to be able to go online, or based on my union's agreement, we have to give them a piece of paper. We can still do it that way. We print them, we send them to you. Somebody needs a reprint. You have copies of all that stuff. You can reprint that stuff at any time, including W-2s. But if you wanted to, again, employees can go online through that portal, and then they could go ahead and they could retrieve that stuff online. Certified payroll, this is where, again, printed. If I just need that, no matter what state you're in, I'll slowly scroll here, but not click on all these. But this is where, you know, whether you need the federal one or you need to go online, you can. I'll show you those here in just a second. But this is where it's ready to go. Print, sign, send. Well, what happens if there's a mistake? You let us know. We fix it. It updates your certified payroll. Now, if I need more of an electronic, where again, I'm dealing with California, EMARS, ePrism, eComply, or very commonly LCP Tracker, this is where instead of taking that report and saying, well, here, we did some of the hard work for you. We divvied out all the numbers by employee, by class, by job. The dollar amounts are there, but now you got to go hand key it in. Well, now you're back to doing payroll twice. This is where you can come in, click it. It doesn't look that great, but when you hit close, create file now, yes, that'll create a file for you to upload directly to them so that you don't have to hand key anything in there, saving time and you know, eliminating mistakes. A couple more here before I open it up for questions. Burden job summary. Now, this is really good for project managers, owners, estimators, but this is where we can start seeing not just job costing, but by employee, by what they did. I have reports by cost code, all that. But this is where, if I look at this, and I know this is private, Rick makes $15 an hour. 40 times 15 is 600. When I add in everything else I have to pay as the employer, this is what's letting me know my true to the penny cost for that $15 an hour employee is $18.41. Again, this stuff can be pushed back to QuickBooks, to other accounting systems as well. We know that no matter what we give you from a job cost perspective, it's only going to be relevant to labor. So that's a big part of your job costing, but there's also material, purchase order, subcontracts. So that's where that integrating with your current accounting system becomes key, so that you still have one place to go to see your profit and loss reports, and we can keep detailed reporting as well. Lastly, if you were a union contractor, we can give you a report, file, whatever you need, but basically by union, by employee, the hours for the month with total, the gross for the month with totals, and then the total into each benefit with a summary page for that union on the check or checks, depending on what they want, you need to cut. So you will continue to pay the union and workers' comp, but we will go ahead and provide detailed reports for that. And we will handle paying all your employees, your garnishments like child support, alimony, back taxes, and we will handle paying every single payroll tax from city to state to the federal government, including your unemployment 940, 941s, and then generate your W-2s and, if applicable, ACA reporting come year end. So this here, I like to keep it to about 30 minutes, give you guys about 5 minutes for questions if anybody has any. I will, again, pop up my information, and then I'll give you guys a few minutes here to type in questions, and I'll answer them. Somebody's asking, do employees, let me see something here. Do employees have an account they can log into to see their payroll? Absolutely. This here would be where an employee can come in. We have two different options for this, but basically, one option is where they can touch things. One is where they can just see things. So it just really depends on, you know, what you need from that standpoint. But this is where they could go see pay history, request time off. So we absolutely have options where they don't have to get the old physical pay stub or direct deposit stub. We have many options for that. Somebody's asking if we integrate with Buildertrend. Yeah, Buildertrend can create a file. If you go to their website and check out partners and stuff, you probably won't see payroll for construction. I believe Foundation Software's on there, which is still the same platform that you'd be using for payroll. So as long as it can create an Excel text CSV file with the pertinent info, employee, date, job number, hours, or start stop time, we're pretty good with all of them out there. These are things, though, we don't brush under the rug, meaning, hey, we will firm that stuff up before you make a decision. It's very important to know. That's kind of the sales answer, right? It's important to know, well, hey, is that file going to be fine as is? Do I need to have Buildertrend tweak it a bit? Or am I going to have to sit here and manipulate or massage data, some people call it, where once that file comes out of there, I got to spend an hour cleaning it up before I can get it to payroll for construction. Those are things we don't leave or sweep under the rug and then say, well, we'll figure that out in the onboarding process once you make a decision to move forward with us. No, those are very important things to know ahead of time. So those are things that you should see us on their website. So they can create Excel text CSV file, but those are things that I could even send you a sample file, or usually it's better to just say, you send me one, because our system's versatile, meaning when I come in here and go to enter time, and I come in and I go to build the import, when I go to hit import, let me do this real quick. We can sequence what's first, second, third, what are things that may be on that file we don't even care about or need. We don't have to have you strip them from the file. We can tell our system ignore it. So usually what I like to do instead of send some sample files, just say, hey, send me what you can get stock out of them. And 90% of the time it works just fine. But if we do got to have them make a couple tweaks, or we do, it's very important to know that before you say, let's do this, so everybody's on the same page. Okay, somebody's asking about in-house payments, meaning I'm assuming layoff, payoff, termination, where, that's another fear with payroll companies of like, hey, Jim, I could never outsource payroll. I have at least 2 to 3 guys or gals after payroll in my office telling me that they're missing 4 hours or 8 hours or something's wrong. I can't look at those folks and tell them they got to wait to next week to be paid, or I'm terminating a guy or gal. I'm union. I can't tell them they have to wait till next week, because we're powered by parts of an accounting system. At any point in time, at no additional base fee cost, you could produce a paycheck in-house to get that employee paid without waiting on us at all. Any other questions, anything else? Again, if you just want to email me, you want a quote, just let me know what you're interested in, or if you want to connect for more of a one-on-one demonstration, just let me know. I'd be happy to connect with anybody and show them more. We won't hound you or anything like that, but if anybody wants to see any of this stuff, you'll probably receive a recording of this, but you'll also probably receive a call from a guy named Matt on our team, and he'll just see if you guys have any questions or want to see more of a live demo. And then those take about 45 minutes, so similar to today, but more focused on you guys and then your specific needs as a company. And then you, of course, can talk during that one as we go. So if something popped up today where you're like, man, I'd really like to interject and have him dive deeper into that, you'll be able to do that in the one-on-one demos. So again, thank you, everybody, for attending this morning. I appreciate it. Hope to talk to some of you, and we'll hopefully talk soon. Have a great day.